Alright everyone, welcome to the final Harstem Hour of the year. Today we're going to be looking at a game played between Zest and Beyond, and we're going to be having a look at some of the games I played after watching this game and being inspired by how Zest played this. He's been playing a style that's been so fun to watch. In general, he's been kind of trying to bring back Bling. We've been seeing a lot of Phoenix play, a lot of Phoenix Colossus stuff, maybe even some Phoenix Charge-Lot, but in general just a lot of Phoenix openers. And when I saw this build, it reminded me of how I used to play maybe a year and a half ago, and I don't know, it just made me very, very happy to see someone bringing it back in the way that Zest did. I mean, Beyond is no walkover, he's no slouch, and the way that Zest played here, and especially with this opener, I thought was just so fun and so beautiful that I kind of wanted to share it. So Zest just opens with a standard Nexus before core, no scout, second pylon proxied on the map. Now, if that doesn't sound standard to you, then that's normal, because that's not standard at all. These days, almost always we're seeing that core be built before the Nexus, so we get that faster adapt, that easier time denying the scouting of our opponent, and thus and also just holding anything easier, right? Any potential bunkers, any potential proxy barrack stuff is way easier to hold if you get that core before the Nexus. You just have a faster unit. Zest, however, he wants a little bit more gas. What he does, he plays Nexus before core and then proxies a second pylon on the map. Now, don't get me wrong, this build is not necessarily done with Nexus before core. I actually prefer playing with core before Nexus because it hides the fact that you're proxying a pylon a little bit better. I mean, as a Terran, if I'm scouting Nexus before core and I see no pylon in the natural, I'm going to be scratching behind my ear. That's my head. I'm going to be scratching behind my ear. I'm like, what the heck is going on here, lads? And I'm surprised that Beyond isn't doing that. I feel like Beyond should be saying to himself, hey, what's going on here? This is very, very odd. I mean, Nexus before core is already odd, and then not seeing anything. I wouldn't be surprised if he just straight goes into a tech lab here, doesn't get a Hellion, either straight mine or straight tech lab, and that's going to be it. Yeah, straight tech lab, so most likely we'll be getting that Cyclone out, because this Oracle is just a little bit too fast, right? It doesn't make any sense. He's going to use the Reaper to scout around. Now, we're here to learn from Zest, so we're not going to focus too much on what Beyond is doing exactly, but do note this is the fastest possible Cyclone from a Barracks Gas Reaper first. He basically went as fast as possible, you know? There was no delays, and that Cyclone is not quite going to be out yet. It's gonna be 3-4 seconds where this Oracle can go pretty ham. Now, behind this, we straight away see the transition. So we see Zest saying, okay, I'm gonna try to do some damage, but if I don't do any damage with the Oracle, that's not the end of the world. I was gonna say, as long as we keep this freaking Oracle alive, our life is going to be just fine. Now, the importance of this Oracle will become even more clear as we're, continuing this game, but let me just say this to you. Many times people, especially at the lower levels, they'll see me say something like, hey guys, just open one Oracle and see if you can get some damage done. And what they hear is, oh, I need to build an Oracle and I need to kill 15 SCVs. If I don't kill 15 SCVs, I can't win the game. That's not actually true. An Oracle is just a different way of scouting. It's similar to how you would use observers or a robotics facility with observers. It's just a unit that gives you scouting, it gives you high ground vision, and it has the potential to do some damage. So it's basically just a better robo-opener. You don't need to do damage. 99% of my games against Terran, I kill a single SCV or I don't kill an SCV. But it is very important that you keep it alive. That's the first mistake Zest made this game. But he's still going to continue with his plan. He proxies a gateway next to his Stargate. Now, this is a variation on something you can do. The Stargate doesn't necessarily need to be proxied. The gate doesn't necessarily need to be here. But there's very many different paths you can take with this build. And this is one of the paths with it. And it's something important to remember that I tend to say just copy one build from a pro player, and people will be like, oh, this is a build, and Zest is a pro player, I'll just copy this. And for the rest of their life, they're proxying a Stargate and building a third gateway there. I wouldn't recommend that, but it is fun, and it's cool to throw that in every now and then. You know, it keeps the game fresh, and it's gonna throw off your opponent for sure. So we see Zest now that he's lost his Oracle, needs some interesting Stalker movement here. See, 2 Stalkers on the side. We have 1 Probe over here, making sure that no Medivacs or anything is flying by. And he has the gate on this side, so he's gonna be chrono boosting this Blink pretty freaking heavily, while always continuing worker production. That's important, but a lot of chrono boosts are gonna go on this Blink, and he's warping in continuous Stalker rounds. Now, another thing I'd like to note here is that Zest played this with Stalkers exclusively. I prefer playing things very often with a lot of adepts, but the beauty of playing this with Stalkers exclusively is that if you open 3 Stalkers before Warp Gate, is that you really only need 1 extra Warp in round for your Stalkers to become very dangerous. I mean, the difference between 3 Stalkers and 3 adepts and 6 Stalkers is massive when it comes to aggressive potential. 6 Stalkers in a main base, that's a dangerous move right there for like the Terrans. Gotta be afraid of that. And we're going to be seeing Beyond here play a 2-Rex build. Now, this build is going to be very anti-Stargate. This is an anti-Stargate build. It has a single Cyclone, very fast stim, and it's going to move out with 2 Adepts. Going to be able to get turrets in the main base if he wants to. So this is, in my opinion, the worst case scenario. And also why I wanted to show this replay. Because like, well, this is immediately, we're going to be looking at the worst case scenario. And the scenario you guys are going to be facing a lot, probably. 3 racks, 2 rack stuff, fast pushes with Medivacs, and well, Harstem only showed against triple CC games. How am I supposed to know what to do against this? Well, because freaking Zest played against Beyond. Look what he's doing. He's using his Stalkers to force out stims on Beyond's side of the map. He doesn't start here. He doesn't start here. He's over here. Now, this would be easier if Zest hadn't lost his freaking Oracle. He'd be able to Revelate. He'd be able to maybe even throw down a Stasis Ward over here. And do note that he invested a lot in early units. At this point, he's already lost 4 Stalkers, which means that he went 10 Stalkers before adding extra gateways. Now, I'd only recommend this against 2 racks. If it's 3 racks, I'd recommend getting up to 6 Stalkers, perhaps, or 7 Stalkers before going into your extra gateways. And also something important to note is that we're seeing a +1 attack, not a +1 armor. Now, why could that potentially be the case? Why would we prefer +1 attack over +1 armor? It's because we're gonna build an army that is mainly focused on dealing damage over time and fighting around chokes. If we wanted to fight straight up into the army, we'd get a lot more Zealots in our army, and we'd get armor upgrades. But because we're opening with so many Stalkers, what we want to be doing is we want to be fighting around chokes. So we want to get some sentries, we want to get pretty quick gases on our 3rd base, yes, pretty quick gases on the 3rd base, and we can get a Templar Archives, but we can also get a Robo. These are 2 options that we have. Now, we're still going to be getting Zealots, but with this army, the +1 attack upgrade just makes a lot of freaking sense. So let's just go forward a bit. Now, like I said, this gateway probably wasn't even that necessary, and without the Oracle not being able to blink into the main base, this probably wasn't even that brilliant for Zest, but he's alive, he has great eco behind it, he took a pretty fast 3rd base after those 3 gates and the Twilight Council, and now he's just going to be looking to get into a pretty tight mid game here. Warps in 2 Templars, like, oh, I can build an Archon out of those, maybe I can warp in 7, 8 more Zealots. While of course he's trying to delay this push out of Beyond. Stands in a speed zone, he's gonna lose a Stalker and kills nothing. Loses 2 Stalkers, kills nothing. So far actually a pretty poor start. But because his eco is so fantastic, and because his army is just pretty powerful, he's already quite tech heavy, he's actually not going to be having such a hard time against what Beyond has here. I mean, Beyond has a couple of tanks, he has some Marines, but with these 2 Archons, with the Guardian Shield, and with the Charge Bolts, I think Zest is actually just going to be fine. Nice little warp in there. And don't forget, look how far down he is in resources lost, against what I consider to be one of the worst case scenarios here for Zest. So imagine if it was a good case scenario. Can you say that? Best case scenario, or a better case scenario, a decent case scenario, or just a case scenario. Normal case, regular case. I don't know why I speak. 3rd CC goes down for Beyond, And very often when we see the third CC go down, the reaction of the Chargelot Archon or the Chargelot Stalker player is to get a fourth base. Because you're like, well, my units are pretty crap. I mean, they're gateway units. All gateway units suck. We know that. Let me get more eco so I can get more of them. And then maybe I can do some kind of push with it. Zest, however, says, maybe if you have the control of Harstem, they suck. But with my control, I can just go up to 6 gas and really invest into that further Templar tech. So whether that is Storm or warping on more Archons, he likes to stay. If the game proceeds like this, from a 3-rex or a 2-rex into a triple C, he likes to go up to 6 gas before taking the 4th base. And this is something that's important to note and something that I don't do a lot myself, honestly. I'm not a big fan of this. I tend to not do that, but watching him play it again and again and again with great success kind of makes me believe in it. Where he believes he very often either can get a timing or he can get a very nice transition into Colossi later on from a Storm push or even just getting that map control. Now, here he decides to not get Storm as he believes, don't forget, unit lost, pretty decently in favor of Beyond still, but somehow Zest knows that he has a timing here. He believes that he can do it, and take a look at how beautifully he sets up this engagement. Okay, so he realizes the main pain point of this defense is going to be these tanks, these well defended tanks. So what does Zest do? He sets up a massive flank here, makes sure he has enough zealots to tank for this army, otherwise it might just be a breakthrough from the other side. And Zest just comes from 2 sides here. 2.5 sides. And just like that. 2 sides. Once zealots actually connect with Bio, they're extremely overpowered. The nice thing for Terran is that you can just kite back forever. And here, I mean, Zest just kind of wins. Well, I would probably be taking a 4th base, going up to 75 workers. Zest just decided to go a push. And if this push hadn't worked, or he hadn't believed it would work, usually he gets Storm, a Prism, and then takes a 4th base as he starts moving out. You see, here's a transition with the double robo, and the plan after that move out is always going to be to go into double robo Colossi. And that's actually pretty much this game. I think Beyond tries to stay in a little bit longer, but we've covered the main part, the skeleton of the build, I want to say, and the most difficult, the worst case scenario. So let's hop into some of my games that I played, where I play against Triple CC, and let's see if I can help you guys a bit in those type of scenarios, because I absolutely love this playstyle. There's just this big Chargelot blink, Archon playstyle, kind of moving around the map, doing run-bys when you feel like it. But there's a couple of things that you need to pay attention to, and I'm going to explain those things in the next game. Alrighty, friendos, here we are with the cowboy. It's my Smurf account. I like the name. Versus Milky Cow. It's like one of those games you used to play when you were a kid. You had to use the end of the word or the end of a sentence to start a new one. Milky Cow, cowboy. Well, it's the cowboy, but whatever, it still works. So we're just going to be going over this replay real fast in at least to start, because we should already be kind of aware of that. So here you see I'm playing core before Nexus, and the one thing you have to pay attention to when you play it like this is that you do need to get Adept before Pylon here, and also second Adept before Stargate. Okay, so that's just something you do want to pay attention to, and you can get the Stargate over here, which is exactly what I do. Now I'm gonna have a look to see if I can take down his Reaper. I obviously can't. He has good enough control. Now there's people who will try to, this is also so beautiful about this build, is there's people that try to basically sacrifice the Reaper to get scouting info, and they'll be like, wait, he has no tech. Most of the time they guess that it's going to be proxy Stargate, but it does just leave them in the dark a little bit more, and they'll lose a Reaper for it, so that's usually quite nice. Now Submarine is probably one of the worst maps for this build, as it's relatively small. I don't really like it too much on this map, but it is what it is, and I'll try to show you guys some good games. All right. So the main thing that I got from watching some of the other games that Zest played is that he really likes to go heavy on the probes and heavy on and very very quick, very rapid on that 4th base timing if he realizes he's playing against triple CC. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing here in this game, where basically my entire goal is just to outgreed my opponent and then get better upgrades. But we only do this if our opponent is playing triple CC, and once again we're focusing heavily, very heavily, on that gateway army. That's just going to be our main thing here. So I start my first Oracle, I get my Twilight Council, and I add 2 extra gateways. Now my Oracle, because it comes from a weird angle and it's a little bit earlier than usual, he doesn't expect it. Once again, I have a couple of extra seconds. I'm like, hey, wait, the Cyclone should pop pretty quickly, probably. I think if it wasn't blocked in here, I probably would have been in a little bit of trouble with this, I admit. But what do I see here? I see, hey, 3rd CC. I did see that, right? Yeah, I did see that. I mean, unless I didn't look at it, but if I recall correctly, I saw that it's triple CC. And I'm like, hey, that's cool. Triple CC, I know exactly what to do. Now, you can do 2 things. You can either decide to still chrono boost very heavily on your blink in this case, get fast blink, 6 stalkers while getting fast 4th base, or you can just throw all of your chrono boost in your probes and then take a fast 4th base. So basically giving your opponent 0 pressure. I prefer having some pressure on the map, getting those extra stalkers. This was great. He thought he was gonna die, so he threw like the Reaper grenade in the last second, and he's like, wait a second, I'm not actually dead yet, lol. And then I tried to catch him, but it didn't quite work. So I like to personally play Double Forge against this every now and then. I can't remember if I played Double Forge in this game. Yeah, there we go. If you know, it's triple CC very early on. And when I talk about triple CC, I'm talking 3 command centers before the 2nd or 3rd barracks gets created or gets built. That is the definition of a triple CC. This means their stim is going to be delayed. This means their combat shield is going to be late. And very often it also means that their push is going to be late. If their push isn't going to be delayed, they'll push without combat shield and stim. And then it's not going to be any issue. So I go into my double upgrades. I get a lot of chrono boosts on my Nexi. And then I'm just going to get a 4th base at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Well, Kevin, that doesn't look very safe at all. But it kind of is, because I'm going to get map control with my Stalkers and my Oracle. And I'm going to be able to take this 4th base and get it up and running. And then I can even get my gateways up before he manages to attack. That is how the timings work out when you're playing against triple CC. You can just be extremely greedy. Now you can see here the difference between me and Zest, which I actually didn't realize until I rewatched that Zest replay just now, is that I built those 3 adepts, and you can see that it really lowers the scariness of my army. Imagine I already had 8 stalkers here. They would be way scarier than just 5, right? Imagine if I could get up to 11 stalkers at this point. I could one-shot tanks at that point. Like, that sounds really, really scary for him, but I only have 7, so it's not that scary. I mean, it's nice, but it's not brilliant, you know? It's not great. So I'd really suggest getting these stalkers. I'm actually going to change that in my play as well. I didn't quite realize that. It just adds a little bit of oomph to these early game pushes with those stalkers. Now, you see, I'm actually, at this point, I'm not chrono boosting on probes, I'm chrono boosting my upgrades, and I'm continuously building probes while getting gateways. The reason I'm not chrono boosting probes is because if I do that, I'm gonna have 78 probes, and I won't be able to get any gateways because I won't have the money for it. So I slow down a little bit with the probe production, and then one thing I like to do is I kind of have a little, I'm not quite even sure how to call this. I have a little thing that I do. Let's call it just a thing. So as my 1-1 is finishing up, I want to be going up to 5 gas, and I want to be adding my Templar Archives. I said I want to be adding my Templar Archives. Kevin, add the freaking Templar Archives right now. Add it. Yeah, I'm gonna add it soon, I swear. I swear guys. I swear to God. I even go up to 10 gates at this point, by the way. I believe. Or just to 8? No, yeah, go up to 10 gates. Just because I felt like he didn't have enough units to really kill me soon. So I was like, I can add 2 more gates. You can also go up to 9 or 11 gates maybe. I get a Templar Archives, 2-2 starts. And then as my 2-2 is nearing completion, what I tend to do is I get 7 gases and I add a Robo Bay and a second robotics facility. So I get my first Robo. I should be getting it around now. And then once my 2-2 is nearing completion, I want to add that second robo and that robo bay. Now, you might be asking, well, Kevin, this seems like a very boring style. You're just sitting at home. True, but I could also be pushing. I can be on the map, I just don't want to be. That's the difference. Like, I could also be playing very aggressive here, trying to push a faster robo, get a faster prism, but as my opponent was being really passive, I decided, you know what, I can also be passive. Now, another thing that's cool to do if you're playing against triple CC is, because you have so much time and you have map control in the early game with those Stalkers and Oracles, is you can already set up run-bys. You can set up pylon walls of pure vision. And the nice thing about this is that it doesn't require a lot of attention. Like, basically the moment you see your opponent move out with your army, you grab these zealots and you just send them into the third base. Then you close your eyes and you look back, bam, 10 workers gone. That's kind of what you want. Now you see 2-2 nearing completion. I'm getting 2 robos and I'm going to be getting my robo bay. Now I have to admit, I didn't quite see him here. I kind of lost vision of him, which is a mistake. But yeah, so I'm going to send my zealots in right now. They're not going to be doing anything, but people say, wow, there's just 300 minerals wasted. I'm not sure why I'm speaking so much for other people today, but not actually true. Because what these zealots do is they force the rallies of the future to stay at home. Because he knows, hey, he's going to run by when I move out. These units are not going to be with this army. Now, if we count, there's 3 marauders, 7 marines, and we can count these as well. So it's going to be like 9 marines, 4 marauders, 2 mines that are not with the army because he's afraid of run-bys. And that's a good thing, because that means whatever army supply he has, we can just deduct 15 or 20 army. And if you say, well, what if he moves out with it? Well, then these zealots are going to do a lot of damage. He'll need to pull away these workers. He's going to be in trouble. So it's a win-win for us, really. Now, if we were really good, we would pull back these zealots yet. But, I mean, we can't expect that of one of the best European players. So I decided not to do it. You see, he's afraid. He realizes he's no match for my massive army. And we decide to keep going. So yeah, like I said, while nearing 2-2 is nearing completion, I get my second robo, I get a robo bay. And my once my 2-2 finish up, I hopefully can start my 3-3 immediately as well. Now, 2-2 is a timing where very often TOS players want to fight and want to get some map control. I'm the same. I'm a TOS player. I'm like, hey, if you want to fight before you have any upgrades, and you can click on your opponent's units, usually it shows, hey, 1-1 upgrades or 2-1. If he doesn't have 2-2 upgrades, oh yeah, we're gonna fight. We use that Guardian Shield, all of a sudden our units have freaking +4 armor. Like, these Marines are gonna do no damage whatsoever, and basically every fight we're gonna take is pretty much just gonna look like this. And even though you might say, well, that fight wasn't actually that great, you're still even in supply, but look at the income. Because I took my fort so fast, because I have so many work, I have slightly too many, I should be at 84, 85, not 91. I'm just in such a good spot where I can constantly take fights and have more eco than my opponent and getting superior tech. Now, this sounds extremely broken, and of course there is some what ifs and buts, but in general, the game plan like this, if it works out well, that tends to be quite good for us. If it's such a passive game as here, like sometimes you'll need to deal with early game harass, but with oracles and blink stalkers, you're going to be in a very good spot against that majority of the time. So I followed this up with just double Robo Colossi. And now another mistake I see a lot of people make is they'll go into 7 Colossi here. They'll be like, yeah, he said double Robo Colossi. Many Colossi probably. But no, you only get 3. And after you build 3, you're going to start going into Disruptor. And that is going to be your end-all army. Yes, Colossus, Stalker, Zealot, Archon, Sentry, Disruptor. And then what you do is you add a Dark Shrine. This is the final step, okay? So remember when I said while I'm nearing 1-1, I throw down the Templar Archives. While I'm nearing 2-2 upgrades, I'm throwing down second Robo Bay. But while I'm nearing 3-3 completion, I get my Dark Shrine. And that's going to finish up my composition. I'm also going to be... I can get 9 gas, but I don't have to. I can do this just fine of 7 or 8 gas. I like to at least get up to 8 gas. So you see I took an 8 gas here. I'm doing some run-bys as I saw him move out. I can probably absolutely blast this army. Like, my army is just looking so freaking fierce at this point. It's insane. I'm like, man, I'm so good at this game. It's ridiculous. It feels unfair to my opponents. Thermal Lens. I think I actually end up getting 4 Colossi this game. And then I get myself a Dark Shrine, and I want to be going into Blink soon. Dark Templar Blink, yes. And what will we do with these Dark Templar Blinkers is we will snipe planetaries with them. And I'm sure we'll get to that at some point in this game. Or I might just actually straight up win here, I can't quite remember. Now, here you see, instead of Disruptors, I went Immortals. Not a massive fan of it, but you can do it if you see your opponent is very Marauder heavy, which I guess I saw, but yeah. I tend to prefer Disruptors, actually, personally, especially for this high in worker count, okay? So we get our Dark Shrine, just push forward, and once again, once our 3-3 finishes as well, we have a timing with a bunch of Colossi, with a maxed army, and we should be up some upgrades. You see here I'm up 2 upgrades, he has 2-2, I have 3-3. I try to fight, I was like, well, this fight didn't go too well. Correct, but don't forget I have 10 gateways, and I have like 5k in the bank, so in reality this is completely fine. I had a run by going on at the same time, and yeah, that's actually it. I feel like these are the 2 most common scenarios which I want to cover. I don't want to make it too long. I want to keep it relatively short. So this is actually going to be it. Let's just go over everything one more time. So Proxy Stargate is not a must, but it's fun to add in. Proxy Gate is not a must, but it's fun to add in. Then number 3 is if we're playing against triple racks before 3rd CC, that means we're going to have to play very different than I did in this last game. We're going to be playing single forge, attack upgrade preferably. We're going to be getting batteries at our bases. We're going to be getting 7 to 10 stalkers initially, and then we're going to be adding the gateways. Charge, couple of sentries with good guardian shield, good force shield, that should be fine. If we're playing against triple CC before barracks 2 or 3, we're going to be reacting like I did in this last game, where we get either double forge, very fast fourth base, and we're going to be having those timings with those. When 1-1 finishes, we get the Templar Archives. Once 2-2 finishes, we're going to add our Robo, our second Robo and Robo Bay. And once 3-3 finishes, we're going to be adding the Dark Shrine and be going into the final stages of the late game. Now, I know everyone's going to make fun of the time of this Harstem Hour, but I'm about to go on a holiday, and I don't have that much time anymore, so thanks everyone for watching. I hope you did enjoy this episode. If you did, please feel free to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below if you have any questions. I might answer them. If it's a bad question, I won't. So you'll know quickly enough if it's a good or a bad question. Thanks all for watching, and Happy New Year. See you all next time. Bye-bye.